Good day and good vibes to you all. My name is Devante with the Camera Kicks channel, and today we are going to be talking about my 5 tips for your first wedding photo shoot. Let's kick it. Tip number 1 is going to be do not under prep. Now, when I say don't under prep, I know you're probably already really anxious and excited. Make sure that you have all your priorities in order. Make sure your batteries are charged. Make sure your SD cards are cleared. If you have a way to back up your photos, have it readily available. Me personally, I use my phone. I back up the images directly to my phone, and as well I have a third way that I've been using recently and I still need to do a review on, is the RAV Power File Hub travel router. Now this thing is really cool. I talked about it in maybe my last video or a couple videos ago, where you basically turn it on, you connect your USB SSD or however you want to back up your photos, and it automatically transfers all of your photos over to your SSD. Having another backup for another backup is just another good thing to do to make sure that you deliver your photos to your clients. Tip number 2, do not overpack. This cannot be understated, guys. Do not overpack. When you see a video or you hear another photographer talking about, well, really you only need this, this, and that, they're pretty much right on the money with it. This weekend when I did the wedding, which I've done a few weddings before, really, if you're the main photographer, you really only need 2 to 3 lenses most of the time. I'd say a couple good primes. Like I used my 35 right here that I still have on the camera, my 50 mil 1.8, the 35 is on 1.2 to 1.2, and then my 70 or 24 to 70 2.8. This is probably the most used lens that I have in my kit. I use it for like everything, even filming. I use it for filming. And then as well, I brought along my 70 to 200, which I really only used a handful of times. Really, like right at the ceremony, I used it, but otherwise I was either just using my 35, my 50, or my 24 to 70. And the EOS R, along with I think the R6 and the R5 can do it as well. There's a crop mode that you can use, so it'll 1.6 times the crop, which ends up changing all the equivalents to these lenses to, going up a little closer. So it's really cool that the camera can crop in on whatever lens that you have to make it a different equivalent. Otherwise, just make sure you don't overpack. Tip number 3, don't rent what you don't need. If you are a photographer and the first lens that you bought was, along with your kit lens, was, let's say, the nifty 50, don't go to rent 5 different lenses just because you think you want to be prepared. You're spending extra money that you could be saving or putting into your own pocket. Don't go out and rent a wide angle 16 to 35 or a 70-200 or a 100 mil, or just only rent what you will need. You need 2 prime lenses and a zoom. And on my future weddings, that's pretty much all I'm gonna be taking, because typically, like I said before in tip number 2, that's really all I use. Don't rent too much gear that you don't need. Tip number 4, have a shot list in mind. I know a lot of people like to use Pinterest. I am more of a mental imagery kind of guy. So if I have a list and I know what those shots look like, I don't really care to try to completely copy the look that's in a different photograph. As long as I have an idea of what the poses are gonna look like whenever we come to that, or where I need to be when this particular part of the event is happening, then that's good enough for me. I would suggest maybe going and Googling wedding shot lists. That's one way that you can find pretty much a slew of different lists or shot lists, so that you can have an idea, and then go and watch some videos so you can actually see somebody in action posing the couple or going through the wedding. That way you have something in mind, which kind of leads me into a bonus tip. Be confident. Do not go up to the bride or the groom nonchalant. You're kind of like, oh yeah, we can do this, or we can do that. No, you need to be assertive and affirmative. You need to be able to tell them how you want them to pose, when you want them to do certain things. It really helps if you, as the photographer, kind of nudges the bride, because they usually take the longest on the timeline. You just kind of remind her, hey, it's going on, let's say 12 o'clock. The groom should start getting ready in about 30 minutes. Let's go ahead and wrap up here so that, we can head over to the groom and start getting his, if you're by yourself, that is. I was by myself. So you just want to be confident. You want to be assertive, but don't be rude, and make sure you listen. You are there to advocate for the bride. The groom probably doesn't care too much, but the bride definitely. Make sure you're there for her, letting her know, what looks good. You're being a good, personable photographer. Tip number 5, and this is probably the biggest one for me specifically, because I hate overdressing, but I hate underdressing as well. You want to make sure that you're wearing something that's maneuverable, kind of not too stretchy. You don't want to go in jogging pants, of course, but you want something that's loose enough to where you can bend and get in like weird positions. As photographers, that's kind of what we do. So, and you want to make sure that whatever shirt you're wearing is somewhat business. Personally, when I went to my last wedding back home in Georgia, I wore a white shirt, a tie, and I wore slacks with dress shoes. It was a short wedding, a couple hours, maybe 4 or 5 hours, so it wasn't a big deal. But for this wedding, I knew I would be there all day, so I needed shoes that were comfortable, but they weren't like sneakers. They weren't gonna, look like I've been running in them. Jeans, but jeans that are nice, and a shirt that is button up with an undershirt under it. You don't, want to have anything showing. So, and I chose not to wear a tie this time because ties can be a little cumbersome. And like I said, I knew if I'm going to be moving around and ripping and running and doing a whole lot of stuff, you want to make sure that you're in a situation where the right definition of run and gun makes sense here. Just make sure that you're comfortable for whatever the shots are that you're trying to get. Well, that's going to be my last tip for today. Not gonna lie, I wasn't really planning on this. The wedding came up last minute, so I didn't really get to record the video a few days ago, so I'm literally recording this the day prior. So I'm gonna work on it. Hopefully it turns out good, but thank you guys for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thanks for kicking it with me. Good vibes. Peace.